with the second charter, setting out the internal and external policies of the nation. Now there was one guide, one rule, at last, for the first time in Somali history. As the charters had promised, the people were mobilized at once in a unified bid to develop the nation's resources. And in answer to the revolution's call, the people turned over not only themselves, but their purses and everything they had to the building of their nation. Roads and communications were the first to be improved, a vital consideration if the country was to be united in its efforts. Self-help and community projects were started up and down the country. No longer was Somalia too smart under its tag as the graveyard of foreign aid. The face of the country's towns and cities was changed. Mogadishu, the capital, was here a mirror to the country's progress elsewhere. New and badly needed housing estates sprang up everywhere, set in newly landscaped gardens, or among green trees and flowers. A remarkable symbol of this reawakened national pride is Mogadishu's Juba Hotel, built entirely from the voluntary contributions of the Somali people. The crowded streets themselves point to just how the people's lives were changed. Their confidence returned. They were more secure. The streets were no longer places to avoid as they had been in the dark days before the revolution. Numerous cars signpost prosperity now, and bustling markets a thriving trade also in manufactured and agricultural goods. For the first time in Somalia's history, her national heroes were honored as they deserved, not forgotten or ignored as they had once been. Statues were raised to Mohammed Abdullah Hassan, to Hawatako, to Dagatur. Mogadishu grew in size, in population, and in trade. Being a coastal trading city, a modern harbor was essential to her. The revolution saw to it that she got one. Construction was started almost immediately on the extension and modernization of Mogadishu port, preparing it for a rapid expansion of the country's foreign trade. The revolution permeated Somali agriculture as well, straining to make people wake up to the value of their rich and fertile soil. Crash land development programs were started with the aim of making the country self-sufficient in basic foodstuffs while, at the same time, providing thousands with employment. Fertilization and mechanization were introduced on a wider scale than ever before by pooling cooperative resources. Canalization was extended also to make the widest possible use of the country's reliable water resources. 9 years of post-colonial decay had taught the Somali people the hardest yet clearest political lesson of all. Political independence for them would remain just a meaningless slogan for as long as they were unable to rely on themselves alone to assure the basic means of survival. Typical of this, successful were their findings, that Somalia has taken over this function, ensuring cheap cereal supplies for everyone. Alongside the revolution in the fields has come a revolution in agricultural industry. Factories such as this, making pasta in machinery bought with money saved on crop imports, have sprung up to produce Somalia's own imports are no longer needed. Tomatoes and other fruit crops have also benefited from the government's agricultural policies, showing vastly increased production. Today at Afgoi, the E-Top factory processes and cans many thousand tons a year for home consumption and for Somalia's growing agricultural export markets. Bananas today are Somalia's second largest export. Yet in colonial times, the plantations were the exclusive province of the Europeans, who limited their development to meet the import needs of the colonial mother country alone. This policy has changed now. Production has been increased many times and markets are expanding to match. Furthermore, today, government investment grants have enabled even the poorest of farmers to grow bananas, where before the revolution they lacked both capital and machinery. Today, quality control and packaging plants are being set up throughout the fertile south of Somalia to meet the stringent demands of this rapidly growing trade. Somalia's banana exports can now be measured in tens of thousands of tons a year to markets lying as far afield as Europe, East and West, the Middle East and Africa itself. Another basic crop more widespread since the revolution is sesame. And here again, sesame oil, once imported at great cost, is now processed inside Somalia. Experimental tobacco plantations also were successfully laid out in various parts of the country. Work on them clearly established tobacco as a feasible national crop, and further plantations were laid down. Backing the tobacco plantations came a large cigarette factory in Mogadishu that currently turns out 1 million Somali cigarettes a day and aims in the middle future to increase production further and meet the entire country's needs. Vaccination and improved breeding techniques throughout the country.